Everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of the SoCal Prep Report. We're just straddling along with Bob Gibson, Randy Rosenbaum, and Moe Orr will be joining us in just a little bit. But right now, got all kinds of stuff to talk about: baseball, softball, playoffs, everything's in line. And of course, we got Randy Rosenbaum with the LA City section report, right?
I do have the LA City section report, and this is just a tribute to the Kentucky Derby. I wanted to come in a horse today.
Oh.
Hey, you tossed it to me.
Yeah, he did. I did. And I bet you he was hanging with Eric Sonheimer this weekend because of his pony.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. All right, let's get into baseball. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's take a look at some of the games.
Yeah.
Bob, this week we're going to take a look at 4 or 5 baseball games, softball games, because we don't have enough time to look at everybody. But Orange Lutheran was our number 1 team in baseball on the way out. And this week, of course, let's look at the graphic. They are going to face San Clemente. They beat San Clemente 3-0.
Right.
Now they're going to face Etowanda.
Yep.
And, San Clemente thought it would be a lot tougher game than that, Bob, but they blanked them.
The thing, okay, we know Division 1 is just crazy good, but Orange Lutheran looks like far and away the best team in this division.
Right now
that
do.
doesn't mean anything, but here's the thing about Orange Lutheran, and this is why the old adage, pitching wins. In almost half of their wins this year, they have shut out their opponent. I mean, that's just nuts to think about. And it's
Not
true.
really, because Norco...
Almost half of their wins have been by shutout.
Yeah, but you look at Norco High, and more than half of their wins have been by shutouts. All right.
Softball.
All right, I'm just
That's
throwing
a
it out
little
there.
different. Softball's a different animal.
All right.
Completely. Baseball's, you just don't see it. But
That's
all
true.
the pitching is with the Lancers. I mean, it's theirs if they play the way they've played all season long. It's their championship to win. But as I always say, the only thing we know is that we don't know.
Yep. Etowanda.
That's the one constant.
We'll see what kind of competition they give
Now,
them.
you got to get on a bus and go all the way to Etowanda. That means something. So there's the only unknown factor right there.
Not that far, really.
Far enough.
Hey, how about Ukaipa having to go to West Ranch? Now, those are two
That's a
clubs
great
with
matchup.
great pitching staffs. To me, that's a marquee matchup. The winner of that one has a great chance. I'd say Ukaipa would be the favorite on a neutral field, but going to West Ranch, that's a tough assignment.
Randy, that was my 7th item on here. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry I skipped on you.
Yes, you did.
All right. You like my voice.
Yeah, you did. All right, Cypress. Let's take a look at Cypress now. They were the number 1 going out, but Orange Lutheran did jump them. Because somebody lost in there. But anyways, Cypress beat Survey 5-2. They're going to face defending champs Capo Valley. Capo Valley's 19-9-2. They upset a good Beckman team. Bob Beckman was the king of Irvine this year, but didn't mean nothing to Capo.
I was a little surprised because I thought Beckman would have a much better
showing
run through this tournament, but it didn't happen. You're right, Capo Valley. People might think they're down a little bit. Defending champions, as you mentioned. So you know what? You never know with the defending champion. These kids know. You can't overstate a group of kids. I know it's not. They had seniors last year, but some of these kids know what it's like to make a run all the way to a championship. You can't underestimate that.
In Capo Valley, they struggled 8-5, but hey, they move on. Again, defending champions, a lot of confidence going into the playoffs. All right, let's continue on looking at another game. It's Harvard-Westlake. They beat Valencia last week, 7-1. They're going to face Ayala. And Ayala and Harvard-Westlake. Harvard-Westlake was number 4 in our poll, and Ayala number 5. They're facing each other. That's going to be a good game, Bob.
I think it's another terrific matchup. You've seen Harvard-Westlake.
Yeah, I did see Harvard-Westlake. They lost a couple games to Notre Dame Sherman Oaks at the end of the year, but it's a very good team, a great hitting baseball team. They can score runs. If Harvard-Westlake's pitching holds up, they can make a deep run.
It's a big if.
Big if.
It's
But they from
Blame
top
Ayala,
to
man.
bottom, they got a great hitting club.
No, Ayala's been right there all season long as well. Good pitching staff over at Ayala.
Well, we knew some of these teams were going to face each other. We only have one team in our top 10 that is not in the top division or Division 1, and that's Arcadia.
Right.
But everybody won in our top 10. Everybody won. Everybody's in the second round.
We know what we're talking about.
We'll see how good. But somebody's going to end up losing because it's either going to be Harvard-Westlake or Ayala. They're going to be out. My money's on Harvard-Westlake being out.
Really?
I got to be contrary to you guys. I can't let you guys just sit there, man. I got to stick up for it.
I'm going with the offense. I'm going with the Wolverines. They hit the ball too well. Harvard-Westlake will score runs.
We'll see. All right, Huntington Beach beat Moore Park, and now they're going to face Bishop Amat, who's shut out El Dorado. El Dorado traditionally has good baseball teams. That was a beatdown. 7-0 is pretty good score, Bob.
Hey, Amat's done well against Orange County teams this year. I don't know what that says about when you get into the playoffs, but Bishop Amat versus Orange County teams, they've had a pretty good run of it. So we'll find out. I mean, we know it's a good program. And Huntington Beach was number one at different times
but
this
Moore
season
Park
as well.
came 1,000 miles to play this
Right.
game, right? They came all the way from Moore Park, and it was
a bus ride, a long bus
1-0
ride.
game, baby, 1-0.
You don't
All right.
underestimate those long bus rides. They can take something out of you.
All right, Yucaipa, as Randy was saying, they beat Edison 4-0. They're going to face West Ranch of Valencia. Now, this could be a trap game for Yucaipa because they got to travel about 125 miles one way to do this game, and they got to do it. They got to, if they leave school after practice, Bob, at 3 o'clock, they're not
Right.
going to get there till about 8. All right, because it's 2.5 hours one way, and that's if you get to do the speed limit the whole way, which they will not be able to do. All right, so I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm off Grajeda, I'm going to get me an Airbnb, and I'm going to take my team the night before. We'll leave after dinner, get on the bus, we'll drive to an Airbnb, spend the night there, get up fresh, and play the game because it's a long way to go, dude.
It's just the way it is.
It's a long way.
It's the way
And they're playing a
this-
great team. Casey Burrell does a tremendous job with West Ranch. He's built that program. They've had quality wins the last couple of years. It is a trap game. Even if it wasn't at West Ranch, it's a tough game. I would favor Yucaipa. But going to West Ranch, that's a difficult assignment for Yucaipa.
But again, Yucaipa defending D2 champions
Yeah, they're
from a year
good.
ago. This is a group that knows what it takes
Yep.
to get there, go the whole road, and get there and win a championship. So don't never underestimate a kid who knows what it takes to get to that
Sure.
end of the pot of the gold at the end of the rainbow.
All right, as we mentioned, everybody else won in Division One in our top 10, so we're going to move on now to softball because we're just going to give you a little flavor of what's going on. And let's start with the best team in the country, Norco. Okay, Norco last week beat Corona 8-4. They played in the regular season. They beat them like 14-1.
Yeah, right.
So I'm sure a lot of people got to
everybody.
play in this game. They're going to face Vista Murrieta. They're 21-7 on the season. Norco, like I said, 15 shutouts, Bob, in only 28 games. And before that, it was 15 shutouts in 27 games.
They've lost one game all season long, and that was to one of their rivals,
Yeah.
Santiago. So,
Yeah.
I mean, no shame in that. This Norco team is just top to bottom. You want to find a hole, you can't find one. I mean, they got the one loss out of the way. They don't have to worry about the perfect season on the line or any of that stuff. That's out the window. You just go win a championship. I don't see any reason why Norco doesn't win this championship. They're just that much better than everybody else. That's not a slight. That's not a slight. It's not a slam on any other team. That's just how much better this team is than everybody
Sounds
else.
like a slam to me, Bob. If you
No,
said that
not at
about
all.
I was going to play you,
Not
I'd be
at all.
thinking you're
'Cause there's
slamming
good
me,
teams.
man.
There's other good teams in this division. Norco's that much better.
And you can
You-
have a
you
letdown.
decide.
You can have a letdown during the regular season if you're Norco, and that's
yeah.
why you lose a game.
Right,
But
yeah.
now they have the incentive of trying to win the championship, so Norco will be fired up, and they have more talent
Whenever
than
you
the
have
other teams.
Whenever you have hated league rivals, you're going to lose a game during the
sure.
regular.
Sure,
Happens all
sure,
the time.
sure.
Happens all the time. Great Oak beat Riverside King 12-0. All right, they're going to face San Clemente in round 2. San Clemente 16-9 on the season. Great Oak has had a great season. No pun intended there. But they have beaten a lot of good teams this season. A lot of teams in the national top 10.
That's not a short bus ride either from,
No, it's
from
not.
Temecula to San Clemente.
Santiago beat Yucaipa, and they're going to face Lucerna, who beat Upland 7-2. Upland had a great year. Lucerna's had some problems, though. I mean, let's just say they've had some problems with the coaching. Man, the fans are going after some of the coaches, and they're
Really?
upset about things. One guy got removed, the coach. But anyways, but you know what? When you have that, you have some type of that adversity, sometimes it works good in your favor. And Lucerna just might come up and beat Santiago, who was a very, very good team.
Sometimes you get that us against the world mentality.
Yeah,
sometimes that works in your
Billy
favor.
Martin, Reggie Jackson type,
Oh,
man.
love
you
that
know?
stuff.
Everybody got to scrape a little bit to move on. All right, Santa Margarita is 23-3 on the season. They defeated Redlands East Valley, Bob, and 5-4 in 8 innings. Though that was a tough game for them. I don't think
Hey.
they saw them doing that. Redlands East Valley going into that contest was a 500 team. They were 13-13. Santa Margarita 23-3 played a lot of killer teams this season and beat them. Struggled in this game.
Santa Margarita out of the gate was just tremendous. kind of plateaued a little bit, came back down to earth a little bit in the middle of the season. I think they finally caught a second win now. John Fitzpatrick, does a heck of a job over there with that Eagles team, and I think they're going to be okay. They could be the sneaky team through this bracket.
All right, we have Orange Lutheran. They beat Los Altos. They're going to face Pacifica. No stranger to good baseball there. And Los Alamitos, Newberry beat Newberry Park 7-3. They're going to face Gar of Cerritos. Gar beat West Torrance.
I like that matchup.
That's a great matchup.
Gar, always one of those traditionally great programs, and Los Alamitos, we know how good they are. I love that matchup.
Real quick, Bob, Grand Terrace got beat by Huntington Beach.
Yeah,
they got upset. They were some of these riders' number one team, and they got beat in the first round. It happened.
Terrace out. That's the beauty of the playoffs. You never know.
Chino Hills, Lakewood, and Ayala all move on. So, Bob, we did a pretty good job at the top 10 this year. All right, Randy, let's talk about the city section. What's going on, my brother?
You think I'm in the Mafia, right?
Absolutely. The Jewish Mafia.
Yeah. City top 10 baseball. Remember, the city doesn't start their playoffs for another week. So they're still in league play in the LA City section. I start with El Camino Real. Conquistadors, the best team in the city. They've kind of separated in my mind. They got two great starting pitchers. They'll get tested this week as they play Birmingham, who I've moved up to the number 4 spot. Birmingham's the 2-time city champions, looking for 3 in a row. A good test for both programs before they go into the playoffs. San Pedro I have at number 2. They're winning against city competition after struggling in a tournament with Southern Section schools. Pally's got great pitching. That's why I have them up there. San Fernando, very good out of the Valley Mission League. They have a win over Kennedy. Both of them in my top 10. Cleveland lost 6 in a row earlier in the year, but they're playing better. Always a dangerous team in the top 10. I have Poly to number 9. Now, they knocked off North Hollywood twice in the East Valley League last week. They improved to 19-9. They have a tremendous pitcher in Elias Galaviz. Galaviz struck out 12 Huskies. He's outstanding. And number 10, I have Marshall, who has dominated the Northern League. They've won 25 straight. That's in the Northern League. That's a tremendous top 10. But to me, El Camino Real right now will be the team to beat in the tournament.
Interesting. Not Birmingham.
Birmingham's got a chance. They're always dangerous. They always play better at the end of the year. But the 2 games they play this week really is window dressing.
Anybody three-peated in the city section in baseball?
Not that I remember.
I don't remember either.
It's
Wow.
always been, Chatsworth's doubled up a couple times.
Just gonna say.
El Camino Real's won back-to-back, winning 3 in a row. If Birmingham gets it done, that's a great accomplishment.
I'm sure our producer Larry's Little League team won 3 in a row back in Southgate back in the day, or Bell or something.
Well, Bell has a good baseball team,
I
but
heard
they're
about
not
that.
in my
They do?
top 10. They're
All
not.
right.
They're just outside my top 10. Softball does start their playoffs this week. A lot of games. So I want to give you your top 4 seeds in the Open Division. San Fernando's won 6 in a row. They've moved them into the number 1 spot, their little committee there. They've scored 51 runs in their last 3 games, so they're hot going into the tournament. I do like Chatsworth, the number 2 team. They're the defending champion. They have Ava Justman. She's 19-2, a tremendous pitcher. I have Banning, number 3, with Angelina, who is an outstanding pitcher. Angelina DeVoe. She's thrown a no-hitter this year, a perfect game. She's a UCF commit. And Kennedy's my number 4 team. Now in D1, Birmingham out of the West Valley League, a young team that can hit the ball. They hit .344 as a squad. Elizabeth is outstanding. Elizabeth Nora, great hitter and pitcher. Number 2, I have Eagle Rock. They have a young lady, Eliana Reyes, who twice this year has had 3 home runs in a game. She has 10 homers on the year. In fact, she's done it one earlier time in her career.
Wow.
So
Who does
Reyes,
that? Nobody does that. That's
Reyes
crazy.
has 3 games in her Eagle Rock career where she's cracked 3 homers in the same
Nice.
game.
I like that.
I have Marshall, number 3, behind Eagle Rock, and Chavez out of the Valley, number 4. Those are my top seeds in softball.
All right. Very good, Randy. Who's taking it all again? Who we looking at?
I still think Chatsworth in the Open
I like
Division.
to put him on the spot.
Yeah, Ava Justman, you're betting on an established starter there. In D1, I don't know that Birmingham will win it. I think they're young. I kind of like Eagle Rock in that hitting team.
All
I
right.
do want to talk about football.
All right.
Narbonne's transfer list is off the hook. They now have 5 D1 defensive backs, 4 transfers. I'm going to read them off to you. Coming from Mater Dei, Darian Greenwarn, he had 5 interceptions for the Monarchs championship team. Jared Greenfield comes over from a prep school. A few years ago, he played at Crenshaw and was the best DB in the city as a 10th grader. Anthony Beavers is tremendous. So is Mason Williams. Great cover corner is Mason Williams. That's 4 of the transfers. They also get a wide receiver who's tremendous, Trayshawn Holdren. This guy, Alabama. Going to Alabama is Holdren, tremendous wide receiver. They already have the best receiving core in the city, so now you bring an Alabama commit to go in there with Queen and East, who are two gifted wide receivers. Narbonne is loaded up, should dominate the city, and has a chance, and I've said this before, against Bosco and Mater Dei.
They'll dominate, but it's going to be after week 6 because these guys will not be eligible, right? Unless they're moving in across the country. They're not going to be eligible.
That's a great question.
Mater Dei guy can't be eligible for at 5 weeks, so
that's
he's
always
out.
a question.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it happened to him last year. Narbonne, they did what they could, but once they got all those transfers in and were eligible, they took off.
Change of
It
residence
took
says a
everything
lot,
changed
too.
off.
And you
Change
saw
of
them. All those guys
Yeah.
are coming back this
Yeah,
year.
interesting.
And the one last ad in the city this week, we have our volleyball finals at Birmingham High School. Palisades will win the Open Division. One of the great volleyball teams in city section history. 4 D1 starters in their lineup. Their season really starts when they get to the regional state tournament.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, we'll keep our eye on that, Randy. Thanks a bunch, man. Hey, we'd like to thank our sponsors. We're here at the Yard House again in Brea. This is our spot. This is our tavern on the green, so to speak. We're out in the patio, having a good time. And, it's kind of good out here because, Randy's voice is just going up and out, man.
I
You
think
know what
my
I mean?
voice sounds fine.
But he had some of that good water here. He said
That
the
he did.
water is
I
better
gotta tell
here
you,
than anywhere
it's
else.
certainly better than where I'm from in the valley.
Yep.
The water is better here, not even close.
Absolutely. Once again, the Yard House in Brea. All right, joining us now on the set here is Moe Orr. And Mo, thanks for joining us, man.
Anytime, Rich, anytime.
All right. You're an official, all right? So you're close to the high school scene. Let's talk about Jonathan Boland, the former Oregon player.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
Jonathan Boland, for you that don't know, is suing a high school district in Oregon for his CTE problems, which he claims he may have. Now, there's no way to really diagnose CTE until you're dead. Then they cut your brain open and see, oh, yeah, there it is. He's got it. But anyways, the way I understand it, he went to Parkrose High School in Oregon, and he's suing the district for $900,000, claiming child abuse
Wow.
due to concussions he suffered.
Wow.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's getting to the court. Anything can happen once you are in court. What do you
Well,
think about this?
First thing, I think that they're using child abuse, that term, very lightly, right? I don't think that's something that you put into sports. First thing. Second thing is this guy is been having a string of problems with the law, right?
Yeah, we were going to get to that.
Yeah, well, you're doing things that might not fare in your favor when it comes to out there and doing these string of robberies. You're doing that to make money. Here's the easy way to make money: is we're gonna go ahead and sue the school district.
Yep, a lot of money. Now, the concern. Well, let's finish the story real quick, and then we'll get to the concerns. All right. So he has a concussion in high school. Then he goes on to college, gets several more. Now, according to the article, this is all alleged, the college was saying that he wasn't even following up with his doctor's appointments or even going to the doctor after he had a concussion. And there was a lot of other factors. But after he got out of college, they let him play anymore because of his concussions. He started doing armed robberies, allegedly. All right? They have him pretty much red-handed, but we're going to say alleged here because it's the right thing to do until he's tried.
Right.
But allegedly, he says that it's the concussions he received in high school that have now made him act irrationally because of the CTE issues. But there's no way to diagnose the dude.
I was about to ask, have you been
so
diagnosed?
how do you pin it on the high school?
But the one thing we do know is that we've seen behavior changes from people who have later been diagnosed with CT, right? Mike Webster, people who have, abused their spouses or, become different people. And then the wife or the children go, man, this isn't the same guy. This is a completely different person than the person I knew before, right? So we see behavior changes, we see mood swings and those kind of things that happen. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm saying that there is some credence to that this could be a defense. And I figured at some point somebody was going to use CTE as a defense. OJ a little late on his deal.
I
But,
think OJ had it. I really got to
You never
believe
know.
OJ said
You never
there's
know,
a guy
right?
that was alive and well. It's OJ.
20,
He's got it.
25 years ago, I don't think they wanted to use that as a defense, right? But at some point you had to think somebody was going to use it as a defense when talking about trying to get out of committing a crime or whatever, allegedly. So.
How many people out there have been diagnosed still alive? Do we have any
Zero.
cases?
Well,
there is zero. There's no way to. There's no
Right.
way to detect it until you die.
Which is why so many athletes have said, "Hey, I'll donate my brain after I die."
Everybody's donating their brains
Right,
now. Why?
so
You
they
don't
can
need
look
it.
at it and try to figure it out.
So on what scientific
Basis.
basis do they have to use this as a defense to say, I have CTE, this is why I'm going to do a string of robberies?
Because it sounds good.
It sounds
Slippery
sounds
slope.
good.
All you got to do is get one juror, right? Just
you
get
gotta
one
do-
juror
yeah.
on your side. That's
Yeah.
it.
Guys, how many times have we seen where we think court cases are cut and dried? And if you want, we can use O.J. Simpson as an example because everybody seems to have a strong opinion of it. And public opinion, 90%, I would say, think he did it.
Right.
So, I mean, is it because of football? The guy seemed to be a sweetheart of a guy. You hear everybody talk about how great he was. Personally, the executives at Hertz and all these other corporations were fawning all over him. But maybe later on, maybe it did. We're never going to know until
Well,
he dies,
OJ self-admittedly admittedly said, I was too fast to get hit. So how you going to use CTE?
That might have been true in the 60s, but in the late 70s, everybody was hitting OJ. Come on. He had
Look,
bad
you got-
knees
you-
and everything
you-
else.
You got a lot of people on the football side fighting tooth and nail to say, you know what, don't ban football, don't get rid of football, don't do anything to modify football because of CTE. A lot of people on that side of it, right? All about the money. You got people on the other side saying, hey, repetitive, hitting in the head, this, we got to do something about this. All about the money, right? So, I mean, follow the money trails one way or the other. But got a lot of people pulling on two sides saying, hey, football's caused a lot of damage here to people,
But-
one way or the other, something has happened to these people.
At the high school level, I have seen a lot of modifications versus when we played. Back in the 70s, we wore suspension helmets. There wasn't a lot of CTE going on because, like I've said before, you can't drop your head if you're wearing a suspension helmet because you'll lose your nose. You can lose your lips. You can lose all kinds of stuff when you're wearing suspension helmets. When you got the water helmet and the air helmet combination, it fits like a glove now. Now you have this glove on your head and you can't tell the difference. And when you hit things, it doesn't hurt. But if you really hit things, you're going to get knocked out. Your chin is still your chin in a helmet. So I think if they were to go back to wearing suspension helmets across the board, we would eliminate CTE. It would go back to the way it used to be where you always kept your head up because you knew if you dropped your head, you're going to lose your nose. It's that simple.
I just think that, as people have gotten bigger and faster and these collisions at higher rates are occurring, something's going to happen to your head. Something, if you repeatedly bump into something with your head over and over and over again, I don't care what is on your head,
Bob,
something's going to happen.
another add to that in the high school level, what I was going to say is pretty much, back in the day, they might have you for 3-4 hours a day all week, and that includes Saturday, sometimes Sunday. So you might have been on the field hitting all 4 or 5 days prior to the next game. Now they limit you to just like, you get 12 hours a week of practice. We were doing 30 hours. We had like a full-time job after school playing football.
Yep.
So they kept
it
you
was.
a lot longer than that. Sometimes we wouldn't leave the field till dark. We
Yeah.
didn't even have lights out there. We started at like 1:45. We're getting off at
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
So they've cut all that back too. And most teams aren't dressing in full pads anymore. They're
Right.
just wearing shells
Right.
most of the week. Maybe might only hit in practice once a week now. Well, we were hitting every day. So it has changed a bit.
Well, it needs to change, and I think that they're opening Pandora's box with a case like this. If you really think about it, how many kids are out there riding skateboards with no helmets, right? I think it's
Anything.
probably the same thing that could actually happen if kids are out there riding skateboard with no helmets or riding bicycles with no helmets. That is a risk for concussions and things like that. Football, it's a lot more controlled of a sport. Unfortunately, kids are using those helmets as weapons, and I think that's the stuff. That's where they need to start at making a change.
Even sports that aren't thought of as contact sport, even baseball, a lot of catchers coming up with
Soccer has the
concussions.
most.
Soccer
Has
obviously
the most.
So a lot of clashing of the heads, right? Every time everybody's in there, you see people flying, throwing their head into a scrum or whatever. These things are happening. Basketball, you're seeing more and more. As the physicality of the game, rises up again. So these are things that are going to turn up, more and more.
Yeah.
And once the courts get involved, I think that's where.
When you
It
break
gets
it
a little
down
dicey.
to like per capita, in a sport, I think soccer is the #1 concussion sport, man. Concussed
It might
sport
be.
because you don't wear a helmet and you use your head a lot in soccer. Don't think you don't. And a lot of guys are putting 3-4 heads to hit a ball, even in defense.
Yeah.
'Cause you can't use your hands, or you might get a shoulder to the head. There's just so many ways to get concussions in soccer, man.
Well, hockey's another one, which is a contact sport. People are saying, how come you don't ban hockey? You're trying to ban football.
Well,
ban hockey.
There has been a movement. Somebody did propose something where they were going to start putting the soft padded helmet just on top of the head for the soccer players.
I think that makes sense.
I mean, whatever. I mean,
Something to help, I guess.
now back to the lawsuit. Now let's just play devil's advocate.
Okay.
I think number one, my personal opinion, this thing has no legs. It's not going to have any legs. But there's always that chance, that puncher's chance, that this thing could be awarded to this guy based on what he said from concussions and going back to the district. My feeling is this is the apocalypse of football on your doorstep in high school, because if this wins, I think everybody's going to be on a class action lawsuit, and it's going to put the sport at the high school level to bed. All right? And if they're going to do it, I'm going to jump in on that class action lawsuit because I'm ditzy too, right? You guys see my violence.
100%
my strength.
accurate.
You know what I mean. I just think that this is like I said, the apocalypse is here now. They're probably going to shoo it away, but there's probably going to be more lining up down the road. That's just my opinion.
Look, man, he was a star athlete. I saw his stats and the things he did as a freshman, coming to play with upperclassmen.
Right.
And now, of course, he goes on to play at. Did he play at Portland State?
Yeah, Portland State, I believe. Yeah.
Look, good career. I don't know what it was. He might want to sue his lineman. Sue the lineman that was supposed to protect him, right? Because if they would have did their job, then he wouldn't have got hit.
Exactly.
I said this a couple years ago. I think you're going to see participation in football come down. You're going to see sports like baseball come back up because of it. Basketball's already doing well. You'll see soccer, lacrosse, maybe some of these other sports, get some of these kids because of it. But I think football participation will come down because of these kind of lawsuits.
Well, football participation has already come down across the board.
But even more drastically.
Oh, no. Hang on a minute.
Drastically.
And people were thinking it was because of the CTE issue, was just because people didn't want to get banged up playing sports and playing football anymore. That's not true. Participation in sports is down quite a bit across the board in every sport. And it has to do with the internet. And this. Look at Larry over there. He's on it.
Video games.
Everybody's on it. Everybody's on it. Everybody's on the other side of the camera's on their phone. So esports, and people just aren't socialized. They're just not as social as they used to be. They're just not participating as much simply because of the internet and other stuff. Virtual reality. I don't know what they're doing.
What?
What'd
you say?
I really can't tell. Bob.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Good job, Bob.
Stop it. You guys are terrible. So that's where I think it's going to end up. I think it's going to end up getting tossed out. It's still pending. We'll keep you abreast of what's going on because we're just as interested as everybody else.
Yeah.
But if this does somehow get legs and this kid does get awarded some money and blaming the high school for a concussion, they didn't take care of me. No, man, you should have taken care of yourself, man.
They might go.
Your parents should have been looking out for you.
He might make a little money from it. They might want to just
settle.
Nobody wants to go to court.
Yeah,
so
they make
They're not
settle
going to
it.
settle. They're not going to settle.
They might.
Because once you settle, you have to settle with everybody else, man. It's the first guy through. What's the old saying? The first guy through always gets bloody.
Yeah.
And this is the first guy through. He's going to get bloodied up a little bit, I think, and it's not going to go anywhere. But you're going to get somebody out there who's going to get a class action thing going and try to push probably something similar to this across the board with NFL players, college players, and high school kids that have problems.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely going to have to stay tuned to that and see what happens.
For
'cause
sure.
I'm very interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, me too. When we come back, we will have more playoff information, and we'll be into the quarterfinals, I think, and we'll be able to have more baseball, more softball, because those are the dominant sports right now, guys. But we got to get out of here right now.
All
man.
right.
Where are you going to go?
I guess.
I got to go to dinner.
That's what I'm saying. We got to
What
get
do you
out
mean? We're here at the Yard House. We're having dinner.
We
We're
got
ready.
15 seconds
Go.
is what I'm saying. We
You
got to
get
get
down
out
here and
there.
have dinner
Thank you.
too. Come
Well, I'm
on.
going to say happy birthday to Jaden.
There you go.
That's my son. I got to say happy birthday to Jaden.
There you go.
Daddy's coming home so we can go to dinner, buddy.
You're not going to the Yard House for dinner?
No.
Chuck E. Cheese, I bet.
No, I don't do Chuck E. Cheese. Those are we going.
All right, man, we're done. On behalf of Bob Gibson, or Randy Rosen, I'm Richard Stracy. So lucky for friends here at the SoCal Prep Report. That's it.